everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the Maryland Business Roundtable for Education, just for juniors, Prep for Success session today. And I'm Carrie Pannoni. I'm the State Program Manager for MBRT, and I'd like to welcome our guest today, Jessica Mellon. And Jessica, I'm so excited to have you on today. We've worked together for several years, and especially with your Summer of STEM program to help prepare students for those next steps and getting a job and to be successful, to put their best foot forward. So Jessica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Hi, I'm Jessica Mellon. I'm a 4-H educator with the University of Maryland Extension. I live and work in Allegheny County, Maryland, and locally I focus on STEM education, and I also serve on the Maryland 4-H College and Workforce Readiness Work Group. I've had the pleasure of working with Carrie and MBRT for the past few years. We'd done the Summer of STEM program together. We did Adulting 101 last summer, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you again, Jessica. It's great to have you and 4-H as a partner across the state. It's a wonderful partnership. Working, both of our missions are common, to help students. And we want to kick things off by talking about how students can present themselves to get the interview, right? Presenting themselves on paper and in person.
And virtually.
And virtually, right. I love that.
So today we're covering tips on presenting yourself to try to get a job. And it starts out on paper because you're going to begin creating your brand or your presence with your resume and cover letter, which of course used to be on paper and now are very often sent and uploaded digitally. And then if you're lucky enough to be selected for an interview, we'll cover tips for presenting yourself in person. But notice I use that word lucky. The truth is, getting a job is based on a lot of factors. One of them is how qualified you are. Another is how well connected you are. For example, does your great aunt own the business, or does your best friend's brother work there? And the other factor in getting a job is luck. So sometimes life is just in the timing of things, and you're in the right place at the right time. So that's an important thing to consider as well as you're looking for your first job. So there are, when you're starting to work for your first job, you're going to begin with a resume. And your first step is that you're going to need to brainstorm. There are different types of resumes, and the resume that you complete as a junior in high school is going to be different from the resume that you complete after college. But when making that resume, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take some time to jot down all of your ideas. It's just like when your teachers have you do that in English class. You're taking all of your thoughts and getting them down on paper. So when you're brainstorming of what you want to put on your resume, you're going to begin with work experience and work-like activities in case you've never actually had any formal work experience. So you're thinking about things that you've done to earn money. So it could be a real job at a supermarket or fast food restaurant, or it can be informal jobs like babysitting or mowing lawns and shoveling snow. As you're thinking about yourself, you're going to think about any volunteer experience you've had, like trash cleanups or making greeting cards for senior citizens as service projects. And if you're listening to this right now and thinking, well, I don't have any work experience and I don't really have any volunteer experience, it's not too late. Talk to a trusted adult about some ideas that you have and ask them to give you a little guidance.
That's a great idea. I know our Next Gen scholars this summer are going to have lots of service opportunities. So make sure, you ask
Yes,
a group that you're involved in.
absolutely. Find a way to get involved.
Mhm.
And because those volunteer experiences or extracurricular activities like sports, music, theater, clubs, make sure you write all those down when you're brainstorming. And then leadership experience. Leadership experience is often what makes the difference between a good candidate and a great candidate for a job. So if you've been class secretary or president of a club or a team captain or a drum major in band, any type of leadership experience you've had list your responsibilities and also the accomplishments that related to it. For example, if you were a team captain and you won the state championship or something like that.
Wow. Yes, that's a great point.
Yeah, thank you. And this is still in the brainstorming session, and this is where the bulk of your work is thinking about yourself. So think about your attitude and your work habits. So if you're a very punctual person and you have a great attendance record at school, include that. If you have other accomplishments related to um, yourself, like the honor roll or a good GPA, you would include that. And then finally, think hard about what makes you special. Think through everything you do: school, community, church, clubs, achievements, anything AP. You're going to jot all of that down. And all of this is the brainstorming session. All right, now we can move on to step 2. So, if you've never written a resume and if you've never seen a resume, how on earth will you write a resume? So take some time to look up some resume samples online. You can search for things like resume examples, high school resume, or functional resume. But one other thing to consider while you're thinking about resumes: don't try to squeeze yourself into someone else's resume style, but just kind of look around and see what catches your eye. And also, as you're looking at those resumes, keep in mind that there are different types, and don't get too carried away on comparing yourself to anyone else. The sample resumes you'll probably see will seem much more impressive than yours, and that's the purpose. They're examples. So don't be hard on yourself. Carrie, does MBRT have any resume samples that they share with their students?
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because many students across the state, including including some students at the Career Center, and well, all the students, I should say, at the Career Center and all the students at Fort Hill High School have access, and many other counties across the state have access to Naviance. And in that, it is a college and career readiness course. They offer a free resume tutorial, and you can upload, print your resume, and you can build on it for years, all throughout your years of high school. So it's a great resource to use.
That does sound good. Maryland Out of School Time has a college and career readiness toolkit that has really
Okay,
good tools and resources for writing a resume. And there's a link to that at the end of the presentation as well. So there's
great.
a lot of good stuff out there. So you've done your brainstorming, and now it's time to start writing. So um, as you're writing, you want to make sure that you include the basic things like your name, your address, and your contact information. And it is crucial that these things are spelled correctly and not typoed, because if you mess up a letter in your email address, you might never get contacted. Um, you'll also want to include your education, so your grade, your school, your GPA, if you're proud of it. And then after that, you're going to try to brainstorm, like all of the brainstorming that you did, try to fit it into categories that make sense based on what attributes and skills you have, and also what the job description is asking for. Now, as you're writing, as much as possible, you want to use verbs in active language like led, organized, created, taught, trained, served, wrote, researched, things like that. And also, your target goal for your writing is 1 page. So not much more than that, not much less than that. Also, stick with standard simple fonts. Now is not the time to be fancy. You're trying to portray yourself professionally. All right, now this is probably the most important tip in all of this. Once you have your first draft of your resume, it's crucial that you proofread and edit it, as well as letting someone else look at it. So Carrie and I working together, we have seen a lot of examples that could have been improved
Right,
with just
right.
another set of eyes.
Yep.
So pay particular attention to your home address and your mailing address, since we don't practice that as much in a digital world. Your English teacher would be a good place to ask, guidance counselors, other teachers. But also, as we talk about this, letting someone else look at it, Seeking feedback is an essential key to workplace and career success. So you are not the best version of yourself in high school. I'm not the best version of myself right now. We all have room to grow and room for improvements. And one of the easiest ways to grow and improve is to ask for feedback. So let that habit begin developing now. All right, you're so close. So you have your resume ready to go. It's wrapped up, and proofread. And so now you're going to write a cover letter. So a cover letter is that warm hello that accompanies your resume. So your resume is straightforward, full of facts, pretty dry. Your cover letter says, hey, I'm a person, not a robot. So when you write your cover letter, you're going to use your business letter formatting. You're going to introduce yourself. You're going to include a few strengths related to the position that you're seeking. And then you're going to conclude with a brief statement such as, I would welcome the opportunity to discuss my qualifications further. It doesn't have to be super long. It's just a warmer welcome to your resume.
And again, here
Yeah,
you
do
can
you
find
have any thoughts?
examples. You can find examples of cover letters as well to help
Absolutely.
you.
Yes, there
Mhm.
are lots of examples. So you have
Mhm.
your resume, you have your cover letter, and you are the luckiest person because you got an interview. So again,
Yay!
not everybody who submits a resume and cover letter gets an interview. It's just part of life. But you're lucky, you got an interview. So our next tips will help you prepare for that. Okay. So if my very favorite slide was ask someone to check it, my second favorite slide is this one, prepare, prepare, prepare. So interviewing is a skill, which means it's something that you get better at with practice. And so the interview itself will probably last 10 or 15 minutes. I would suggest spending 2 or more hours preparing for it. Now that seems like a long time, except you just break it up into smaller bits. So when you're preparing for your interview, you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your strengths, your superpowers. What's special about you? What are you proud of? And you're going to write 5 to 10 of these things down on paper so that you have them to practice and go through in your head. You're going to be looking at, of course, skills, if you have specific skills that you'd like to write down as well beyond superpowers. But you're also going to spend time looking up the job description. You're going to be looking for keywords and key tasks. You're going to jot those down because in the interview, as much as possible, you're going to sprinkle in your superpowers. And anytime you can relate to a keyword or key task, you're going to try to include that as well. And if you have a short little story that gives an example of one of your strengths or one of your skills, that would be appropriate to share as well. You're going to spend some time looking up the company, their values, their initiatives. If you can use any of that during the interview, great. If not, you can, when you ask your questions at the end of the interview, you can include that there. You're going to be thinking of at least 3 questions. When you're doing an interview, the people who interview you like to know that you have an interest. And so if you can think of some questions to ask, they're more those higher level questions, that's always a good tip for interviews. You're going to practice. You're going to practice with a real person, which seems so awkward and weird, but it is to your benefit. And you're going to ask them to give you feedback on your answers. Were they good answers? You're going to ask them to give you feedback on your facial expressions, including eye contact. You're going to ask them to give you feedback on your posture. And you're going to ask them to give you feedback on your rate of speaking. A lot of times when we're nervous, we speed it up a lot. And then you're also going to spend some time picking out an outfit. There's a phrase that I like, don't judge a book by its cover. That's really a good way to live your life, except when it comes to interviews. So we won't spend
Yes.
time on this. We could do a whole separate presentation, but spend some time, ask a trusted adult for feedback on both your outfit and also your grooming, your personal appearance. All right, so we prepared. Here it is. We're going to arrive early. We're shooting for 15 minutes, definitely no less than 10. It sends the message that you're reliable, something that people value. Also, if you're there early, you can sit back. You're going to take some deep breaths. and you're going to be reviewing your superpowers. All right, so now you're called back for the interview and you are going to be confident. So what does confidence look like? It looks like this. When you go in, you're going to smile, you're going to shake hands. As you shake hands, you say things like, "Hi, good morning, nice to meet you." During your interview, you're going to listen carefully to the question. You'll pause, collect your thoughts, answer as best as you can. Remember, you're trying to sprinkle in superpowers as best as you can. And then also, you'll be nervous. Try not to drone on and on because it can make you seem as if you aren't confident. So you want your answers to be, you don't want them to be yes, no, but you don't want to go on forever either. Be sure to ask those questions that you thought of during the preparations. And when you're finished, you're going to thank them. You'll smile again and then shake hands if it seems appropriate. So you aced your interview. And now the next day, it's appropriate to take a moment to send an email just saying thank you for the opportunity. It's 2 or 3 sentences. You say something like, "Thank you for the opportunity to interview yesterday. It was a pleasure speaking with you." Just short and sweet. And finally, don't give up. You prepared, you practiced, you were ready, you did a good job, and you didn't get the interview. It happens a lot. Sometimes you don't even get an interview. Remember what I said at the beginning? Getting a job or an interview is part luck. My dad always used to say, some days you get the bear and some days the bear gets you. I can't tell you how many jobs I haven't gotten because if I told you that, you would not want to think, you would not want to listen to my presentation on getting a job. You wouldn't think I was qualified. But there's a quote that's attributed to Michael Jordan, and it's he said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed." So keep that in mind as you go out for this first job. It'll be okay. Keep trying.
That's right. Thank you. These are great tips, and they can apply whether you're in person or virtually. And I've recently helped my nephew who is applying for a job, and he's currently in college. And you're never too old to get help and to get tips. And we practiced and did a mock interview. I told him, do cards for your interview, and um, he got the second interview. So sometimes maybe it's not, maybe it requires multiple interviews. So, definitely it pays to prep for success. So thank you again, Jessica, for all of this wonderful information and tips to help our students be better prepared and to present their best self. I think this will go a long way to helping them get the job or get the interview and get the job. Fingers crossed,
Yeah.
right?
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Yes, thank you. And thank everyone for joining us. And we'll have some comments for additional information in the chat. And I just want to say before we sign off to remember our Way to Be app. It's a great resource, another tool in the toolbox that students can use to help them be better prepared for their next steps. And we have information on resumes on the app. It is free to download on the App Store on Android or Apple devices. So check it out. And we want you to also be on the lookout for information coming soon. Next week on Wednesday, I'm hosting a Facebook Live again for Workforce Wednesday. I'm going to be talking with the Baltimore County Director of Youth Programs, and he's going to talk about how companies can hire youth for the summer and how they pay for it. So interesting topic. And then our next Just for Junior series is coming in June. So there'll be more information on our Facebook and our website. You can check it out at www.mbrt.org. So again, thanks everyone for joining us and take care.